Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So today I'm going to be talking about a blunder story that was very famous um, many years ago, and it's still present now, and it is still being talked about. This is a blunder story that shows us a little bit of how marketing gone wrong can have a tremendous impact on any business. Okay, and this is going to be for American Airlines. Okay, so a little bit about the agenda so you can have an idea of what we're going to see today. We're going to talk a little bit about the beginnings of American Airlines, when it was founded, and what it is today, right? Where it stands today in the airline industry. Then we're going to go a little bit into depth about the Blunder Story details of what exactly happened here, for what campaign, and what were the consequences of that. That has an impact in American Airlines, I would say, until this day. The marketing characteristics that were offered for this campaign that, well, you could say would be interesting for any consumer that at the time would be able to afford this, right? The lessons learned specifically related to marketing that we can take for future insight and see, how that can make a change in our business. And the conclusion of overall, the opinion of how this ended up and what we learned from it. Okay, so American Airlines was founded in 1930 via a union of more than 80 small airlines. So it started very small. Over the decades, American Airlines continued growing and expanding routes. They did all sorts of things to make sure that they would continue being competitive in the market and keep growing, right? Now, in 1980 is when we have this story that it's considered a blunder story now, but at the moment, Robert Crandall, that was named the CEO of the company, saw that American Airlines was struggling. They had money problems and they did not want to go get any more loans. So then he decided to come up with a marketing strategy where they would offer a certain promotion or service that could generate fast cash, right? Which was known as the AA Advantage Pass, American Airlines Advantage Pass. And this eventually became known as one of the biggest blunder stories of history, especially for the airline business. American Airlines is considered the biggest airline in the world currently. So they were able to get by after this. However, you can still see some financial struggles after this. Okay, so a little bit of background of exactly what happened here. So in 1981, due to the fact that American Airlines had this crisis with cash, the CEO at the time decided that they would launch a marketing campaign advertising a one-time purchase for an exclusive Premier Pass that was worth, in that time, about $250,000, and it would give you unlimited flights for the rest of your life, right? So more or less now would be something like, in our current financial world, would be something like $750,000, and it would give you unlimited flight hours or free flights for the rest of your life, pretty much. So there wasn't any more annotations to that. It basically was, buy this one-time pass for $250,000 at the time, and you will have unlimited free flights for the rest of your life, right? So that's basically what the marketing strategy consisted of. That's a little bit about exactly what happened here. Now, the marketing strategy revolved or emphasized these 3 points, and that's what basically attracted consumers, obviously high-end consumers that were already Premier customers, to be interested in this, right? So it was unlimited travel for a lifetime, one-time purchase. That was like one of the biggest things. You were even encouraged to add a companion for this membership for another $150,000 at that time. So your main pass was $250,000 and $150,000 for an additional companion. Obviously, you had exclusivity to flying first class privileges, right? So this is what the marketing strategy consisted of. And when they brought out the campaign, this is everything that they promoted. They obviously targeted a group of customers that were a little bit more high-end, people that had a little bit more money. But even then, I mean, you could, thinking back, you would be, flying for the rest of my life for just $250,000 one-time purchase. I mean, that seemed like a very catchy campaign at the moment, very attractive, right? So obviously, after some time of offering this and having a amount of customers that had actually made the purchase, they started reviewing financials after some time. And they started seeing that this was a big loss because they had lost millions of dollars in sales for these people that would be flying for the rest of their life. And the companion as well, because the companion fee was only $150,000. So, after doing all the math and all the analysis, they saw that this was actually a big loss. It was something that maybe at the time it would generate the cash flow that they needed, but in the long term of things, doing some math, it's something that was generating a lot of losses in sales. And the fact is that American Airlines removed this, obviously, when they realized it wasn't a good strategy. And it even restricted a few people that were caught making fraudulent moves with the passes, because they would maybe sell their companion pass around or let people borrow it or whatever it is that they were able to do. Some people had this removed, not a lot of them, but at the end of the day, ultimately didn't give the company a good branding in the eyes of the customers, and people thought it was unfair, right? And to this day, people who purchase this pass and use it regularly and not abuse it still have it. There's some people that are still alive and they're frequent flyers, and they continue to make use of it, although obviously it is no longer offered. Now, in my point of view, I don't believe that the means of obtaining the fast cash at the moment, no matter how drastic the situation is financially, should be a reason to make a decision like this and not think about the consequences truly, especially for the future. Right? I believe that the cost-benefit analysis that has been discussed in marketing could have been something that could have avoided this financial loss for the future, and they would have been able to realize if this would have been done thoroughly, that it would have not been a good campaign to launch. Maybe some restrictions applied, maybe it being modified, but definitely it should not have been launched that way. And in years after, you're able to see all the money that this generated in losses for the company. And that is basically all. That's the Blunder story for American Airlines. It is one of the biggest ones that exist out there today, at least in the airline industry. Thank you.